Now we're going to take a look at actually creating a composition using all the different instruments and going into a little bit more detail. One of the things I like to do is use them all separately rather than using the ensemble as one. Even though the ensemble as one is incredibly effective, you can get so much more control by dividing the instruments up. I'm going to work at a slower tempo of around 105 beats per minute. I might change this as I go, and I'm going to change the time signature to 6/8, which is just a preferred personal time signature for writing classical music. Let's go ahead and start by recording some violins. I'm going to be working in the key of C minor and keeping things nice and simple for now. I'm going to keep them in legato to start with. Now that I have all my notes, I am not going to quantize them, but I do want to make sure that they are overlapping. I'm also going to select them all and then hold Alt and Shift and bring that velocity down. I want them to be all exactly the same velocity for now. In the legato section, I'm just going to increase the portamento and the speed it takes to get from note to note. Let's exaggerate this for a second. Just bring this one over. See how we get that exaggerated pull of the finger up or down to the next note by the string player. Really quite beautiful. And the longer the overlap, the more obvious that becomes. So that's up to you how you want to do it. Another thing I'm going to do straight away is just bring down the modulation control, which is controlling the dynamic. I don't want too many strings playing at once right now. You can affect the modulation wheel as you're recording. I'm just going to do it this way to make things a bit simpler and break it down step by step. So let's increase the dynamics throughout some of these more held notes to give a little bit more expression. Let's have it coming back down here. That should sound quite nice. I'm going to double up this violin melody with some cellos. So I'm going to create a new channel, load the cellos, and then just copy and paste this over, and I'm going to bring everything down by an octave. So I'm just going to select it all with Command A and then bring it down to C2. Let's see how they sound together. I'm going to create a slight variation by getting rid of this higher note and just increasing the low one down here. Let's check that out. It's the small things like that that really make the big changes. I'm also going to change the dynamic for this section so that instead of it going down, it actually comes up and counters that violin that's playing. really nice how those two play against each other. I've extended the sequence to double the length, and I want to work on the melodies that we have already in here, and then try adding some more instruments, as well as changing the modulation automation which controls the dynamic. Let's start by changing some of the melodies. Let's change this note here. Let's turn this on so we can hear it play back. This one up here. Let's change the bottom one this time, so the cello. Now, the way I'm looking at both these is I have both of the regions selected. The one on the lower half is the cello, and the one on the top half is the string section. So let's change cello. Let's listen to this section all together. Not quite. Almost. Perfect, and I think we could do with another note in the violin, just in the middle to accentuate this chord. Love that. Okay, now let's take a look at the individual modulation. So the dynamic control, I think we want to build sort of throughout this section. Just make it nice and simple. Doesn't have to be complicated. Don't need to go up and down all the time. Sometimes you can just increase in dynamic, make more and more string players join in, and that should just increase the tension throughout the section. Love that. Now we can hear that it is kind of missing some other instruments in this section, so let's go ahead and add another set of violins. I just want to emphasize the second half of this new section that we've created. So what I'll do is I'll copy and paste what we have with the original violins. I'm going to delete everything from the first half and just increase these notes in pitch. Let's bring that expression down, and let's just have a quick listen to how that sounds as it is. Let's bring that up an octave. Let's bring this one up an octave as well. And let's give this a higher note too. Maybe this note could just step down back to this one here. And there you have an evolving sequence which just grows in tension and beauty throughout. Now, we're not done with the string section. Let's try adding some basses. Just as before, I'm going to increase the legato and the speed, really accentuate that movement from note to note, so it's not too instant. It has a sort of glide to it. I'm going to just play something in, play along, see how that feels, and I'm going to also record the dynamics on the fly as I go, just moving my modulation wheel up and down like so. I may get one or two notes wrong, but I can always correct those later. Well, I said I might have to record another note later, but maybe I didn't. You can see here it immediately takes the recording of my movement with the modulation wheel. If we just scroll down a little bit, we should be able to see the notes that I recorded. I'm actually just going to close this, move it out the way for a second. Let's just have a listen to that soloed. I love that you get the sound of the bow and the string vibrating together the more that you add dynamic to the sound. All in all, it adds a really nice touch to what's going on, supporting the low end of the string section. Before listening to it all together one more time, I just got to change this dynamic here because we can barely hear that low note when it comes in, and I want to hear it ever so slightly, but just not too much. I can always adjust the volume later if necessary. Really amazing when you put all those instruments on separate channels and you give them the control that they deserve. In the next video, we're going to be taking a look at how to add different articulations throughout your composition, recording them live, accentuating those dynamics again.